Thank you, Janice. Thank you. Janice loves to give people chocolate. I've been eating chocolate all week. Thank you for being here. I didn't know whether we would have a Sunday school class or not, but I should have known that Asbury would show up because you always have before. I want to remember somebody in our. I want us to remember Mary Virginia said Avon Rayburn died last week. If you remember Avon, and her husband was president of this class at one time. He was delightful. They both were. Everybody loved Avon, and we'll remember her for all that she contributed to us. She made us smile a lot of times.
Our IT department.
That's when she gets a big salary for this, you know. Is it a little better?
Yeah. It's more better.
A little better. Okay. Well, I did decide I would do a Christmas story today. It's one I don't know if I've ever done in here before, but I may have. But I think it said 1985 or 84 on it, so it's been a long time if I have ever done it in here. Our scripture that was prescribed for us today is from Matthew 21, 1 through 12. And it's important, I think, that we read this scripture today. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, during the time of Herod the king, Magi came from the east to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is he who is born King of the Jews? We have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him." When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. And he called together his chief priests and his teachers of the law and asked them, "Where was this Messiah to be born?" "In Bethlehem of Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. You, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah, for out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them exactly the time the star appeared, and he sent them to Bethlehem. "Go and search for the child," he said, "and as soon as you find him, report to me, so that I too may go and worship him." After they had heard the king, they went their way, and the star they had seen rose and went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they bowed down and worshipped him. And they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their own country by another way. That is our prescribed lesson for today, and I'm going to remind you that the gift of adoration and worship, the gift of showing up, is indeed what makes Christmas what it is. The story that I've chosen is called "A Stranger for Christmas" by Carolyn Lynn Pearson, adapted to fit the Sunday school time frame. An orphan. Florence indignantly pressed the remote control button, and little orphan Annie exploded into horizontal lines and then was gone from the television screen. "Now why," she said, "would Daddy Warbucks go to an orphanage to get someone to entertain for Christmas? Why didn't he go to an old folks home and ask for a little old lady that he could entertain for Christmas?" "Well," replied Myrna, brushing her long white hair, "maybe it's because orphans are cuter than little old ladies." Did you ever notice that? Cute? Florence leaned back in her wheelchair and closed her eyes. She used to be cute, and then interesting, and then handsome. And that's why she had such a long and successful career as a Hollywood character actress. She was never a star, except one time when she played Queen Elizabeth I. But she was always in demand, right up to the time when she broke her hip. And even now, she maintained bright red hair with the help of a stylist that came to the home once a month. And even if she was not so cute anymore, she could still play Elizabeth well enough to keep the nursing staff on the run at her command. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful? What if tonight, not Daddy Warbucks, old men don't really interest me anymore, but a family with children would walk right in the front door and say, we'd like to borrow a grandmother for Christmas. That one over there, the one with the red hair, she's cute, we'll take her. And then they would take me to their home for 3 days. And they would hang up my stocking by theirs at the fireplace, and they would sing carols around the piano, and they would ask me what Christmas was like when I was a child. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Yes, replied Myrna, that would be wonderful. The truth was that Florence had never had a Christmas like that. She was never married, so she never had children and had never been part of a family. On the other hand, Myrna had lots of Christmases just like that. The holiday season in Idaho with her husband and 5 children had looked like and smelled like and tasted like and sounded like and felt like something close to heaven. Did you really make gingerbread houses? Florence asked. Oh, yes, we did every year. We made them from scratch. And on January the 1st, we would sit down at the table with a pitcher of milk and we would eat it up right to the last crumb. And then Myrna's voice would trail off softly and she laid down her hairbrush and sighed. This year there would be no gingerbread house. This year, for the first time in her life, there would be no family Christmas. This year it would be just her and Florence and a few other old folks who couldn't leave the home. Myrna's husband had passed away 3 years before. About the same time, her arthritis had become so severe that she could barely get around. The doctor advised her moving from Idaho Falls to a warmer climate. So the family got together and decided that the best thing for her would be to move to her sister's home in Pasadena. It did help tremendously. Her fingers straightened out, the pain subsided, and she could walk without a cane. Then sadly, her sister died, leaving Myrna alone in a house that she could not manage. Her eldest son, Richard, came and moved her again to the best available retirement center, which was Elwood Manor. He made sure she had everything she needed, and of course they brought her home for visits in the summer and always for Christmas. But this year, it would be different. Myrna had suffered a heart attack in the fall, and the doctor felt that spending even a few days in the high altitude would be a serious threat to her health. So it was best for her to stay in Pasadena. The children would all call her on Christmas Day, and they would send pictures and tapes of the church programs. Of course, it wouldn't be the same as being there, but after all, she had her memories. Florence did not even have memories. Oh my, said Florence, just once before I die, I would like to make a gingerbread house. And a real family. I'd like to have a real family come and pick me up to spend Christmas with them. But those things don't happen in real life. People are too busy to bother with a stranger, especially at Christmas. If you don't belong, you just don't belong. Now, I don't know about that, Florence, Myrna said. There are a lot of good people, a lot of wonderful people who aren't too busy to bother with a stranger. Why, if only they knew about you, they would be more than willing to take you into their hearts and into their homes. Ha! Name one. Well, there are a lot of them. There are a lot of them. Name one. My children would take you in a heartbeat, any of the 5 of them. Myrna, I'm sure you have good children who would deliver some cookies, or to send the children's choir to sing carols, or even shop for a few presents. But taking in a stranger for Christmas, not on your life. As I remember, on the very first Christmas, no one was willing to take that stranger in. Well, we'll just see about that, Myrna replied, rather indignantly. But who will I ask to take you in? Well, all the way out here in Pasadena. I don't know. I will think about it. Of course, not me, said Florence. We'll make up somebody. We'll make up somebody who can take you in. Elizabeth Tudor. Oh no, not Elizabeth Tudor. How about Elizabeth Hendricks? Yes, we'll say she lives right out here in Idaho Falls in Rosewood Manor. She has no family, or at least none that pays any attention to her. She lost her house in a fire some years ago. Her children live back east. They have forgotten all about her. She is confined to a wheelchair, but her mind is as sharp as ever. She needs to spend Christmas with a real family. In fact, this may be her last Christmas. She's losing her will to live. Let me get to that telephone, said Myrna. I told you about my son Richard, haven't I? He's my eldest. He's a high school principal and has 4 children of his own. Just wait till you hear what he says. Hello? Hello? This is Robbie, isn't it? Hi, darling. This is Grandma in Pasadena. Oh, I love you too, dear. Is your daddy home? Oh, yes. Hello. Hello, Richard. Yes, love, I'm fine. I just need to ask you a little favor. You see, I have a friend. Well, it's a pen pal. Her name is Elizabeth Hendricks. She lives right there in Idaho Falls, and she needs a family to spend Christmas with. She really is delightful. Darling, in spite of the wheelchair, I was so hoping that you and Rosemary would invite her over to your house, kind of in my place, for a few days. Oh, really? Really? Becky is bringing home her fiancé from college? Becky's quite grown up now, isn't she? And the younger children will have to bunk together? Oh, yes, I understand. I guess you just wouldn't have room at your house for my friend, would you? But never mind, Richard, that's just a thought. No, you needn't send any cookies. I think she's diabetic. Okay. Sure, we'll just talk on Christmas Day. Thank you anyway. Now, Florence, he did have a good reason, but just you wait. I'm going to call my daughter Beverly. Her husband is a dentist. They have a lovely home, and both of their children are in high school. They will be happy to have Elizabeth come for Christmas. Hello, Beverly. This is Mother. Yes, dear, I am fine. How are you and Tom? And the kids? Oh, of course. No, I'm not getting into mischief here at Rosewood Manor. I'm just calling to ask you to do a little favor for me. You see, Bev, I have a friend. Her name is Elizabeth Hendricks. She lives a few miles away from you, and she has had a tragic time, darling. It's just been awful for her. Her husband left home. Her children all moved away, and she has no one to spend the holidays with. I was hoping you and Tom would invite her over to your house for a few days. It would mean the world to her, even if she is in a wheelchair. She can still help around the house and take quite good care of herself. She would be no trouble at all. What? You have that many plans? Oh my goodness, I had no idea. I understand you won't hardly be home any time during the whole week of Christmas. Of course, you wouldn't want to leave her alone in a strange house. No problem, Beverly. I should have called earlier. Sure, dear. Maybe next year, if there is a next year for poor Elizabeth. Yes, love. I'll talk to you on Christmas Day. And don't give me that look, Florence. You just listen to my next call. I'll show you someone who will take in a stranger for Christmas. This is my daughter, Joy. Have I ever told you about Joy? She was born smiling, and she has always been sweet and lovely to everyone and everything. Remind me to tell you about her goldfish sometimes. Hello, Joy. This is your mother. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. I was expecting Joy to answer the phone. I'm fine. And you? And the girls? Oh, that's good to hear. And is Joy there? Hi, dearest. No, I haven't had another heart attack. I'm feeling just fine. I'm calling to ask you a small, well, maybe not so small, a rather large favor for you and Paul to do for me. It's about a good friend of mine, Elizabeth at Rosewood Manor. She is so much better now. She can get around without her wheelchair and hardly even needs a cane anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, dear, I forgot to ask. Can she come spend Christmas with you and your family? She is so lonely. It would be a blessing to all of you to bring her home to have a real Christmas with the family for just a few days. What? The girls have terrible colds? Oh my, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope they will be better by Christmas. No, you're right, Joy. It would not be fair to bring an elderly person into a household where she might catch some deadly virus. Oh no, darling, don't send the church carolers to Rosewood. Elizabeth is hard of hearing and would help her enjoy the holidays at all. Sure, love. We'll talk on Christmas Day. Let's go to bed, Myrna, suggested Florence. This is just about run its course. I told you, nobody wants a stranger for Christmas. Wait, you just wait. I haven't called Dale yet. Have I ever told you about Dale? He works for the welfare department. He is the kindest, generous, most loving person you have ever seen in your life. He is so sensitive to other people's needs. Let me get Dale on the phone. Myrna gets Dale. Dale gets paid for being sensitive if he is in the welfare department. Lets you and me go to bed. Just you wait. Hello? Is this Ruth? Ruth, it's good to hear your voice. Is Dale there? Dale, you just have to help me out. You just have to help me out, son. It's Elizabeth, my friend in Idaho Falls. She is desperate for a family to spend Christmas with. She's just as hale and hearty as a 30-year-old. Why, she can walk 5 miles a day and she would be a great help for you and the children for the holidays. In fact, she would probably cook the dinner and do the dishes and entertain the children. She is an excellent sitter, and I believe she even loves to get out and shovel snow if it's necessary. Would you consider having her for a few days? Oh, I didn't know that Ruth was ill. Oh, you couldn't possibly have a stranger in the house if Ruth is not feeling well. I hope it's nothing serious, my dear. I'll be praying that it's just the stress of the holidays and it will pass. My love to you and the children, Dale, and especially to Ruth. Oh, Florence, did I ever tell you about my youngest daughter, Susie? She has twin girls. They have performed in the Christmas pageant in their church every year since they were babies. I've never missed a performance. They love me a lot. They love me a lot. Just listen to this call. Susie, it's Mother. How are you, dear? I bet you have the prettiest tree in Idaho this year. But Susie, I need your help. And she told her story for the 5th time. You can just let Elizabeth be the grandmother in your house this year. Please, darling, please. It would be so good for her. And she would love the twins. What do you mean the timing is wrong? Susie, timing? I know it's short notice, but Elizabeth may not have much time left. Are you sure you can't take her in just for Christmas Day? Oh, of course, dear. I'll have a good holiday. And you have one too. I just thought, never mind, we'll talk on Christmas. Now, Myrna, don't blame your children too much. They're probably very good people, but they're like everybody else. They don't want a stranger for Christmas. It's no big deal. We were just playing after all. Let's just go to bed, get a good night's sleep. The next few days passed without comment about Christmas, or strangers, or families. Every day was just another day for Florence and Myrna, until Christmas Eve. That night, after the nurses had cleared away the turkey surprise, and everything was quiet, the two little old ladies were nodding in their chairs, and Christmas music seemed to fill the air. "Angels we have heard on high," they sang, and suddenly there was the sound of angels. It was a host of heavenly angels singing, "Merry Christmas, Grandma." Myrna looked up. She was not dreaming. She was not dead and gone to heaven. They were all there. Richard, Beverly, Joy, Dale, and Susie, and all of their families. Are you surprised, Grandma? Are you surprised to see us? Guess what? We've been planning this Christmas for months and months and months. Squealed the twins. We're going to have one good holiday in the sun, Grandma. So now, no slush, no freezing rain. We're going to the beach, Grandma. And we're so glad you live in Pasadena, so we could come to your house for Christmas. And we brought you a gingerbread house. Wait till you see how Angela made the windows this year. Richard stepped forward to give Myrna a big hug. "Merry Christmas, Mom. I know you wanted to find a place for Elizabeth Hendricks, your friend, to spend Christmas. And we would have brought her with us, but we just couldn't find her. Mom, we called about every retirement home in Idaho Falls," chimed in Susie. "Could it be possible that we misunderstood her name? You did say Elizabeth Hendricks." Myrna looked at her family, her children, her grandchildren, her life, and she answered, "I guess Elizabeth Hendricks must have moved away from Idaho Falls without letting me know. Probably some kind family came by and invited her to spend Christmas." Thank you, dear ones, for trying to find Elizabeth. I always knew that all of you would be willing to take in a stranger for Christmas. And just now, I would like for you to meet my friend Florence. She has red hair and she is very cute. Do you think that we can invite her to enjoy our gingerbread feast? I mean, if it's not too much trouble. I have another, it's 10:30, I have another little ditty to end with. This is one that I probably have read this before in here. It's called A Christmas Carol, and it comes from Christmas card, excuse me, from 1988. And I will remind you that year we had below zero Christmas, and the streets were icy, and it was Christmas morning and we couldn't come. Nobody could get to church. Miss Liz tried to come, and she fell down the stairs and broke her leg. But it was just no way to get here. And so I spent Christmas morning writing this little ditty. And it was really for this class because I had prepared a Christmas story and didn't have anybody to tell it to. But this is called A Christmas Card. And if you've heard it before, you can hear it again. And it's one very much from the heart. Dear friends, and if by chance, relations, may I extend on this occasion to you a heartfelt invitation, once again this way, to deck the halls with boughs of holly, celebrate the season's folly, glad narrate and fall to raleigh, but not forget to say, in spite of all our merrymaking, eggnog sip and cookie baking, gifty swap and feast partaking, we greet you, Lord, today. This story has been told before in simile and metaphor, in Hebrew, Latin, Greek, and Dutch. and every language such and such, as Portuguese and Bangladesh, and tell me please in Japanese. It has been chanted, danced, and sung in every culture, every tongue, both near at hand and far outflung. On mornings, afternoons, and nights, it's now beamed down by satellites to every person on the planet, most of whom take it for granted, which we should never, never do. Because this story is so true that even if our facts are errant, we should see the truth apparent, that God on high reached down to touch the world that he loves so much. Why God should love without remission this world in faulty, flawed condition is very hard to speculate. The finest evidence to date, hypotheses do calculate. But once upon an ancient tile, sculpted by sculptors on the Nile 100 years ago, if it's that old, it must be so. Yet very plainly it is writ in simple, something like Sanskrit, in foreign fashion, old in style. It says, the Father loves his child. Then 100 years later, discovered lying in a crater, the self-same words in other order to indicate both son and daughter, graved in stone with special bother. Thus, the child loves his father. What meanings have these writs and engravings gathered in from far out havens? What is the purpose in these etches? The imagination stretches. Interpreters cross 7 seas with specialties and PhDs and many more advanced degrees in philo and theologies, enough to make a chicken sneeze. Interpret the meanings of these lines as messages, of course, divine. They say non-controversially, this means that universally, without regard for looks or brains, no matter what his past contains, if he's been horribly mischievous, even if he's caused much grievous, there never is a time or place, never such a foul disgrace, notwithstanding his profile, still the Father loves his child. Enlarging on this marvelous text, they proceed to tell us next how this message does translate and all of us incorporate. This is acceptance given free to every child, both he and she, without regard for shape or size, color, sex, or family ties, to everyone in every nation, irrespective of location, every kitty on this map, regardless of his handicap, is valued as a precious pearl. For with such love, God loved the world. If God is Father to each other, children all are sister, brother. That's including we and us, and them and they, and thus and thus. Moreover, these scholars circumspect, cognating with their intellect, declare the gracious, wondrous part. The child returning from his heart this love to siblings far and wide, does in his Father's love abide, and with him God is gratified. It is the love of God for we, and we for him, and you for me, and me for you, that leads us to believing in the things we do. That long ago a child was born in circumstances quite forlorn. He lived and died and rose one more, this season us to bring of Christmas trees and shopping sprees and marvel and marathonic cooking bees and jingle, jingle bells that ring and hark the herald angels sing of peace on earth, goodwill to men, for which we pray time and again, of piney wreaths and satin bows and jolly old St. Nicholas, of frankincense and gold and myrrh, originals that our gifts infer, of wise men looking yet afar and following a brilliant star, of mistletoe and hollyhocking, and don't forget to hang your stocking. Of shepherds watching flocks by night and worshiping by candlelight. All in the midst of strife and strife, we see the beauty in this life, which should be very, very clear. For we have hope that this new year will come to terms with doubt and fear. We'll make this world a nicer place in every father's child's case, all just because God loves this place. A Merry Christmas both to you and all you are related to. May in this season love unfurl, for Christ is born. Joy to the world.
Excellent. Sissy, it is always a pleasure to enjoy Christmas with one of your stories.
Because she is a
They're
treasure.
so well done.
Yes, yes.
And this is the Asbury class. And
Yes,
that's part of the Asbury class.
yes.
Someone had mentioned Susan Cato. She seems to be doing a lot better. Amy has been very good in sending out bulletins on how she's doing. I think she's doing as good as she can at this time in life.
She's still at home.
She's home still though.
I haven't gotten a bulletin, I must not be on the mailing list. I thought I was, but
I think you are.
I thought it was too, but I haven't been getting anything.
Well, maybe she's,
I haven't been.
maybe I'll forward them then.
Okay.
Someone was forwarding them, but I'll go ahead and forward them. I've got a class list and I'll just forward them
Okay, thank
as
you.
as I get them done. Are there any concerns or business that needs to be discussed?
I have to say thank you for the lovely flower arrangement I got. I'm not sure it was signed, but I knew who it was from. Because it had red roses in it. Thank you so much, it's very pretty.
And now we have to welcome one of our older members who's just reached, you might say, puberty, to come up and tell our joke.
Who are you talking about?
Our saint, who is older than dirt.
Merry Christmas, huh?
Don't need any other kind of friends, do you?
It's a good thing I'm finished with my shopping. Anyway,
Tom, don't push it down, nobody can hear you.
I thought that's where they were wrapping us.
There we go, that's good.
Tom, the reply to that is yes, dear.
I do that all the time. That's 103 and it's only this time of day. A Spanish language teacher was explaining to her class that in Spanish, unlike English, nouns are designed as either masculine or feminine. House, for instance, is feminine, is la casa. Pencil, however, is masculine, called el lápiz. A student asked, what gender is the computer? Instead of giving the answer, the teacher decided into dividing the class into two groups, male and female, and asked them to decide for themselves whether computer should be masculine or feminine. Each group was asked to give 4 reasons for its recommendation. The men's group decided that computer should definitely be feminine gender because, 1, no one but their creator understands their internal logic. Then 2, the native language they use to commute with other computers is incomprehensible for everyone. 3, even the smallest mistakes are stored in long-term memory, later retrieval. And 4, as soon as you make a commitment to one, you find yourself spending half of your paycheck to buy accessories for it. This gets better. The women's group, however, concluded that computers should be masculine because, 1, in order to do anything with them, you have to turn them on. 2, They have a lot of data, but still can't think for themselves. They are supposed to help you solve problems, but half of the time, they are the problem. And as soon as you commit to one, you realize that if you had waited a little longer, you could have gotten a better bond. Women love.
Shame on you.